Damien Chinappi, Boston-based actor, and you're listening to the Movie Raid.
It's time for the Movie Raid, and tonight's victim is Damien Chinappi, that played in Betrayed, amongst other films. Hello!
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Fantastic, man. So tell us a little bit about your involvement with Betrayed. I heard this is still in the works, or at least it's about trying to get released at least another couple months or so.
Betrayed actually got released by Vision Films. The story about human trafficking in Michigan, which is actually the number 2 state in all of America for human trafficking because of its relation to Canada and how close it is. It's filmed by Harley Wallen, and I play a character named Karpov, who's part of the Russian cartel who kidnaps young girls.
Having been involved with something so real like that, was that something more, a little bit of a self-realization between reality and then having played this, but having to dive onto something that you really wouldn't expect to actually dive onto?
Well, it was a huge wake-up call. I mean, I don't have any kids or anything like that, and that's not something that I think about. But once we started getting some information about human trade, it was really eye-opening. Like, they're talking to some people, neighborhoods in Michigan, like, they don't let their kids go for a run at dusk. You know, and that there actually is this human trade in America. It just seems so foreign. So actually looking into that stuff and realizing that, hey, this is right here in the country, it was like, oh, Jesus.
Is this your main baby at this point?
Well, I did Betray with Harley, and then we did Eternal Code, which was in 2018, and that was a film about, it's based semi in reality about head transplant, which actually that technology exists, and it happened, I think it was in Asia in early 2018, and that was a film about a company that had technology that allowed a person to download their consciousness into a new body. So essentially, it was something that elite, the rich, would be able to basically live forever, have a fountain of wealth. And I played a character named Corey, who was a veteran that dealt with post-traumatic stress and was suicidal. The story basically follows that the CEO's daughter of the company that was going to pursue this technology where you could download your consciousness, her daughter gets kidnapped because she doesn't want to pursue this technology with a merger with a sister company. She basically gets abducted, gets held for ransom. So these companies pursue the technology through a series of events. My character and their daughter's character have to rescue the parents.
Would you actually, in a way, not exactly in a negative way to protest, but actually to tell others not to use this as an example to this? Because there's a lot of crazy theories out there about what's going on right now. This is a very well-received film, and the story, the vision, and the characters as it's perceived as, but how does it make you feel that this might be an actual example or leading to other examples of what's going on now?
I think the actual technology in the sci-fi realm, I don't think it's possible, but in terms of exploring controversial topics, I myself, I'll listen to any theory about anything because it interests me, and I think saying no automatically to stuff isn't beneficial, so I think it would be dangerous to have that technology, but it fascinates the heck out of me. The thing that's kind of disturbing is going like, all right, if you can transfer your consciousness to a younger, more attractive, more fit body, where are you getting the body? I think there's a reason why, you know, we live anywhere from 60 to 100 years, and that's enough. I think if the thing that kind of raised my mind is if you had someone that was really rich and that inherently was evil, like, you can learn a lot in a lifetime, but imagine how much you could learn in 2 or 3 lifetimes, how much you'd see, your experience, and then all the stuff you learn by trial and error, that you become like this really ancient, wise, rich, evil person. Like, it would make the world such a even scarier place than it already is.
When it comes to, like, creativity, do you think creativity is most helpful and useful in every way imaginable? But when things aren't going so well, do you think the artist can actually make it unintentional with errors and faults, or do you think that the actual blame should be shared? And how would you actually deal with that if that's the case, if it needs to be shared with in terms of blame?
No matter what's going on, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's some kind of tragedy, as an artist, what makes you an artist is creating, always. Obviously, films are shut down right now. I miss being on set, but I don't miss acting. I act every day. And I think the onus falls on the artist to, no matter what the circumstance is to create.
Do you think, like, judgment can also be a little bit too harsh, especially now, if they were to, like, oh, well, it's just because this person sucks or whatever? I mean, you can blame all you want. You know, faults is usually, unfortunately, like, implanted on everything.
My view is, like, once you do a film, you're done with it, you're on to the next thing. Dwelling on a past success or failure, that does absolutely nothing for an emotional, creative life. Absolutely nothing. So, in terms of blame and judgment, I get films need to be judged, they need to be ranked and stuff. I really try in my life not to judge my work, not to judge people, not to judge anything. Just try to create and keep that wheel moving, because the second you go, this is the best work I've ever done, I feel like you're doing yourself such a disservice. The present moment is always raw potential for anything. And the second you start looking back, I think you're done as an artist. I think reflection's key, not only with art, but with anything. It's like gain an awareness of the past. That gives you an orientation. That lets you know what you succeeded at, what you failed at. Take what you succeeded at, put it in your back pocket, learn from the failures. I'm big into the Greek Stoics like Seneca. He said the mind is strong against things it's prepared for. So if you don't have an awareness of where you failed in the past, I think you're doomed to repeat that history.
And then do you think that sometimes the level of expectancy, do you think that could also be a factor too, rather what to really expect, or should you just stay in one area that you already are at now? It's just like I think there's different levels of expectancy, but how much of expectancy do you think there should be?
I think it's important to have an aim where you want to go, what you're willing to sacrifice to get there. But I think you should expect the unexpected. Because when you start to expect something and the experience doesn't tailor itself to that, then you get disappointed, and then you get down, and then you kind of tailspin. I really expect nothing. If you get disappointed, you have to blame the expectation, not the event. So have an aim for your career, work towards, understand where you failed, correct the failures, keep the successes in your back pocket, and be curious. If things aren't working, try a different approach. If that doesn't work, try something else. You get an unlimited amount of attempts, right? As long as you stay curious and optimistic, and you're building self-awareness, it only ends when you die. Having a strong character, having a strong drive, having a strong aim, all those things reinforce and work for each other.
One big mechanism. Do you think that sometimes that can be a little bit too problematic, with not just with yourself, but as you perceive to see other actors go through the same thing, even working with them? Do you sense that kind of presence sometimes?
Honestly, the way, because it's all up to perception. How you perceive reality is how it is. For my own sake, as long as I'm self-aware and I'm learning and I'm making some art, I'm doing something that provides meaning to me, I think it's all good. If you don't get that role, it wasn't your role. It was never your role to begin with. I heard this great saying that we get the roles that we're destined for. I truly believe that, because you don't get cast and you dwell on it, you're wasting the potential of what you could do.
Simply can't slow down. You can't simply stop. It has to be an ongoing. This is the kind of commitment in terms of trying to get that character out there. Be a part of that story, because you are a part of that story, rather big or small, doesn't matter. You have to stay focused on that drive. And oftentimes, okay, either you're just paid to do it, you're just paid to just do this or that. But that's where you lack that motivation automatically off the bat. You may not realize it, but it'll show on camera. It'll show to your other coworkers. If you want to be taken seriously, you gotta keep that drive going and have that. If you're relying on that power, use that power for something that can help you keep getting these other really good roles.
I agree. I mean, roles in films come and go, but your character as a human, that's everlasting. And the artist's responsibility to keep that, to fuel that creative fire on a continuous basis. If things are getting kind of stale, you need to try something different. That's a responsibility, to keep your curiosity, your passion, your determination. Obviously, there are cycles in life. It waxes and wanes, but it's to keep that trajectory pointed upwards in the face of the uncomfortable uncertainty and the difficulty of establishing a career in the most competitive field in the world. And I think that is entertainment.
Because there's a difference between personal gain and actually getting that personal goal. Personal goal, you're going for it, you know what it is, and you know how to perceive it through ideas. But if you're using a character just personal gain, whether it's money, whether it's fame, whether it's whatever credit, at some point it's going to taint your character and it's going to taint what you do. But you may succeed at what you do, but as a person, it's really going to reflect on everybody, because everybody, as far as an emotion goes, it's like a big human rod. Everyone's going to feel it at some point.
Yeah, no, integrity, sincerity, honesty, it all comes from the soul. And art without soul is just aesthetic.
You have no artistic value, and that's the one thing you really don't want anyone to use that in the same sentence. Is no artistic value. If you downplay that, you water it down, you're just like an empty soul, and that's not what you're here for. You stand for something else.
100%. I mean, the things that as viewers, audiences, we connect to have soul. They make us cry, make us laugh, they scare us, they turn us on, they enlighten us. To sell the thing that drives the art, to get the art, it doesn't make sense. And we live in an age where it's immediate gratification. Take this pill, lose 20 pounds, right? Social media, bing, instantly connected. Email happens in split seconds. To build the character, to have integrity over time. I think that's where really great stories, really great art gets created. It takes time. It takes years. You can't make the kind of art overnight that takes years to make. Making money off art, it's not why you do, it's not why you make art, but if you want to make it your career, ultimately you need money. And you're going to hear no. Like, I've embraced. You're going to hear no way more than you hear yes. What does that no mean? Okay, it's just not your door. Also, if you only feel like you have value when you hear a yes from a casting director, that doesn't make sense. Like, the meaningful work is the art in and of itself, is the acting, is the exploration, is the creative endeavor. So yes from a casting director will not make you a better actor. A no doesn't make you a worse actor. And figuring out the structure and the framework of your life to maximize feeling good while hearing no. And I think if you can do that, you continue that upward trajectory, because I believe that 80% of life is psychology and 20% is mechanics. It's less about what you do and more about how you feel about what you're doing. So in the face of all those no's, you got to find a little bit of good. You got to be able to feel good and keep searching, and just embrace that no's part of the journey, and the journey's on you. It's not like you're going to sit and someone's going to discover you. That falls on you. If you have the passion, the drive, and the psychology, and the curiosity, that gets translated into determination and going like, you know what, I'm going to do this thing till I die. That's my course of action, and that integrity, and like you were saying earlier, character comes into play.
Go and plug in any websites or anything that you'd like to share that we can check out right now.
My personal website, it's not ready yet. I think it's DamienChinappi.com. It should be out in the next month or so. A short film called Underground, which deals with, it's in the 1800s, where a character gets called by God to aid African Americans on the Underground Railroad. And then just recently I did a film called Lansky, directed by Eden Rockaway by Voltage Films, that stars Harvey Keitel and Sam Worthington. A film called Lansky, and that's coming out later this year. I had a small role, an enforcer in Lansky's gang.
That is actor Damien Chinappi.
Mike, thank you so much, man.